trouble with primitives in any art form, painting, poetry, or music, is that they come a dime a dozen. You can trip over them in the streets. Anyone can present himself as a primitive when they might be quite simply untalented, or just lazy, or money-minded.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna walk out that store, get in my car and drive down. Go vote. It is the crown. VOTE. That's the
when we say this is improvised, we truly do not prepare one thing.
What?
All right, everyone, here it goes.
Oh.
And welcome to Tavern Talk, a Wheel of Time live talk show based on the Epic Fantasy series by Robert Jordan. My name is Ryan, and joining me as always is my brother Dan, Jansen, Lashley Haynes, and Beth Doman. Today we have a very special show for everybody. It is very timely. Voting day is in 2 days, so we are going to take this time to talk about politics and the Wheel of Time. I didn't mean to be redundant there. Oh, look who voted.
Twice. No,
all right.
That's illegal.
And we do have a very, very special guest, a political activist who's going to join us. Should we bring her in? Let's just bring her in right now and start the conversation. Let's bring in London Rivers. The specialist of special guests. All right. Welcome, London.
London River with no S at the end.
I do that all.
It's okay. Everyone does it. People have put it on DVD covers that way, and I just am like, oh, okay. Well, that's fine.
Hey, London, I haven't seen you in so long. How's it going?
know. It's good. It's good. I've lost my voice a little bit, but I'm good.
Good to see you, London. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Well, despite, besides a Wheel of Time fan, a fan of dinosaurs, having a very cool dog, you also are very politically active. You were out today canvassing, you had said, online. You are really pushing for everyone to vote. And so 2 days out from the official election, we wanted to just kind of have you on. And because I'm really, what you're doing isn't the easiest thing, especially when you are a performer and people do have certain, expectations in their own mind. Go on.
Correct.
Yes. So having you on, we just wanted to, first of all, thank you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for promoting democracy in the political process. And I guess just thanks for liking Wheel of Time so much too.
Yeah, I love the Wheel of Time. I feel like I've gotten away from talking about it as much because I'm so single-minded on this one thing. So I'm very excited to at least combine it because yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was at the Gathering Madness recently or whatever, but anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I saw pictures of that. You guys got a private tour with Maria Simmons over the garden, his private gardens and stuff. Tell me about it.
It was very cool.
Yeah. What does he grow? Does he grow 2 rivers to back? Is he growing
it's flowers. It's like a flower garden. There's a pool in it it's not koi, it's goldfish, like a pond of goldfish that are all oversized. And it's just really pretty. The archway, there's an archway that looks like ruins and yeah, it's really impressive and pretty.
Does Maria work there each and every day, pretty much?
Yeah,
wow.
It seems that way.
Yeah, gosh. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. Apologies to any oversized goldfish if we're not size shaming anybody here, but they are pretty big, I hear.
Thanks, Dominic. We're looking for you.
Oh, it's so good to see you. All right, so one of the things that people love about the Wheel of Time is just how intricate all the plots are, and politics is just not ignored. It's completely and totally explored throughout the books. Let's get into it. Jansen, you want to give us your typical great introductions?
Sure. So in Ranland, from the very beginning, in an empty road, the first chapter of Eye of the World, we get politics. And we get politics in the 2 rivers in Emmonsfield with the men's circle and the women's circle, the councils. And, something I realized about the councils, especially the ones in the 2 rivers, is Robert Jordan always seemed to add some kind of, levity to them. There was always something funny, something humorous, something that you chuckled about. when it came to, the women's circle business and men's business and all those things. And there was always something funny about it. But even as, from the very beginning of this book, almost every character in this book has something to do with politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As the world builds, thank you for bringing us back to the Eye of the World. We all remember how it feels to like be kind of in the Shire with these bumpkins. Yeah, it is silly. There's like a levity to it, and they're just hinting at the dangers of the world, and then obviously all hell breaks loose. But as we start to meet like new characters, we meet princes, we meet queens, we meet the Amerlin Seat, the most powerful woman in the world, and then we go into different lands. We meet the Shanshan and we meet Tuon, and we get into their minds. Like we see how they see the world through a very political lens. I'm thinking especially Elaine. She's constantly referring back to the tutelage of Morghese as she tries to rebuild her seat of power and unite the houses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ryan, that's a good point. Like they're all like pits of vipers. They learn like the higher you get, the more people just are not genuine, are just bad people in general. But I do want to stay within the two rivers if we can first, because that is the first system we see. We see the village council, the women's circle. We hear the difference. There's a line. It's like the Senate and the House, right? It's no, we write the bills. There's a fine line about things, and they're pretty violent about it. People go get hit with sticks.
Something else that's particular to Emmons Field and a few other places in like Randland is that, the people who are on the village council and the women's circle, well, they're elected, especially the mayors.
Mm-hmm.
We hear some really funny stuff about that in the prologue of Lord of Chaos through Fael's POV, where Perrin she locked herself in a room because Perrin was chasing her because she was interfering in, I believe, Devon Ride's election, and she had to promise that she would never do that again. So they have election.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, the closest thing we have to democracy within the Wheel of Time. A lot of things you have more or less representatives who appoint or anoint or decide. The idea,
and we do have councils.
We have councils.
Am I wrong that the Panarch of Tanchico was elected, or was she selected by the king of Tanchico?
She's
the Panarch elected?
She's appointed by the king.
She's appointed by the king. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just I left and jumped back in, but yeah.
No, I thank you.
No. So London, pretty much and I don't know if you're aware of this, Ryan and I think that there's corruption within Emmons Field. We have the mayor who's been the mayor for 20 years. He's also, where all the votes are counted is in his thing, the White Spring Inn. When we meet, he's having a big celebration with the Gleeman, with fireworks. All the people are going to come stay at the Wine Spring Inn. Who's going to benefit? Trump Tower, right? So we think that, well, at least I think, Brandon Alvear is kind of corrupt. But he's been mayor for 20 years, and he's been elected every time, we assume, without cheating and stuff. We also think that's where Copland Talk may have come from, was a campaign slogan against one of the Coplands. They was trying to run for mayor, and that's where it came from.
All right. Well, I have something to present. I didn't mean to cut you off. London, give us your thoughts, and then I have a presentation for everybody. It's real short.
Oh, I was just thinking about like the mayor. I don't know that like it's corrupt and that he's cheating. I think that like it's just like us, people. We have people that work for that we vote for, that we just vote for them over and over and over because we're used to them, right? But they like so like he has an incumbent advantage, and there's no term limits. That's what I think.
But he's also the richest guy in town. He has a clock. He has tiles on his roof instead of that.
I don't think he's the richest guy in town.
Oh, who else has tiles, man?
The most needed guy in town. Usually in times like this, the blacksmith usually has the most wealth. The miller's pretty wealthy as well because he provides like a service that's needed. But the mayor really, a town like Emmons Field doesn't really take taxes, so I don't see how he could have a lot of extra money. He has the bar where he does trade like ale, and they spoke of that in the first chapter about the casks of ale from different places, but I don't think he has that much cash.
How do you think he got the wine spring in a building that is older than it dates back to the Age of Legends, right?
Ancestry.
Oh, okay. It's just handed down.
So he's born into it. So he's been So and he's mayor. He's the richest guy in my head. He has a clock. No one else has a clock. And he was organizing this big party where, guess what? Any tourism, where are they going to stay? A place with a thatched roof? No, they're staying under the Wine Spring Inn, and they have honey cakes.
Okay, so you guys have derailed me. You just derailed me.
Corruption in politics goes everywhere.
No, this is infringing on conspiracy theory stuff right now.
I
honestly,
maybe you might be right.
I think I am right.
I do. I mean, I do think that I kind of understand where you may be going with this, though, because I do understand that, like, in the Wheel of Time, there are situations where there are things like misinformation. We get some great ones from Pedro Niles and Bulwer's POVs together with that. And, they absolutely made up stories that would benefit them to get rid of what they believed was false dragon. And, something else that,
Well, real fast, Jansen, let me ask you a question. Can we assume that the Alviers would have been amongst the most powerful families in the entire Two Regions area if Egwin had trained to become a wisdom and gone to Devon Ride or Watch Hill and been a wisdom for there? The wisdom is part of the women's circle.
Yeah, but you're forgetting who you're talking about. If Egwene went to another village or another place and the Two Rivers, she would have taken that place with her whole heart, and she would have been their wisdom, not Emmons Field. So, whatever she did, she would do it for whatever or whoever she was doing it for. So I don't think she would have given her parents preferential treatment or anything. I think that they would get that anyway by being a parent.
All right. Here, this is just fun. We're just going to watch this for just a second. Dan and I made a political ad about 4 years ago. This is Bran Alvier running for the mayor of Two Rivers.
It was re-election campaign, yeah.
Wolves. Bears. A winter that won't end. Crops that won't sprout. No storks at bell time. And now a roaring guild. Now is not the time to change our leadership. As your mayor for the last 20 years, Bran Alvier has the experience and leadership to bring Emmons Field out of these difficulties. And now, for the first time, Beltane celebrations include a gleeman, a peddler, and fireworks. Bran Alvier knows what is best for Emmons Field folk. But you Terran ferrymen can just stay where you belong. Bran Alvier is the best for Emmons Field because he is Emmons Field. Vote Bran Alvier as your mayor.
Oh, Jacob.
In the two rivers, the choice is clear. That's Branalvier.
Paid for by the Wine Spring Inn. Why stay in thatched house when you have the Wine Spring Inn? Has a beautiful red tile roof, Tamar Thor's limited reserve apple brandy, and the best honey cakes in town. The Wine Spring Inn.
Oh, no, you need 2 hands for that. Okay.
I need 2 hands to drink the water. I needed 2 hands to drink the water.
Now I get it, and that's hilarious. Why haven't I seen that before?
That's delightful.
We got more.
Yeah, maybe we'll throw the other ones in there too.
Yeah, we did a whole string of them. We got more. I'll pop some in later on.
Yeah,
the whole world needs to see those. Those are great. Yeah. So I'm assuming the others are great, but that was great.
Let's go to Andor, because this is the first monarchy that we see. We see Queen Morghese, but then we see Elaine trying to get her throne. And guys, in retrospect, is she trying to gain the great houses, or is she just trying to get the swing states? Because you only need a few of these people to say yes, and then she wins the whole thing.
Well, I think by the time we see Elaine in her struggle or fight to obtain the Lion Throne, she's become a very politically savvy person. She has really, really honed in on what her mother taught her growing up. She has great advisors surrounding her, and she's not necessarily looking for the most powerful houses. She's looking for the ones that will back her.
Well, she's looking for
she's giving favor to those people. There are definitely promises that are exchanged for, if you do this, we'll do this. But she is a masterful negotiator by this point. I mean, we really see it. And I know a lot of people don't really love those chapters of Elaine's struggles to obtain the Lion Throne. But if you really watch at Elaine's character development during that time, she really does come into her own, no longer as Morghese's mother, but as Elaine, the future queen of, I mean, Morghese's daughter, not mother, Morghese's daughter to Elaine, queen of Andor. And, you know, she doesn't have the most powerful houses behind her. She has a couple, but most of them, no, they're like, no, you know, but she ends up winning them over in the end because of who she is and her mettle as a person. And yeah, Dylan is essential in Elaine, and Dylan being willing not to be the figurehead that the great houses wanted her to be. She was like, no, I'm not here for the glory. I'm here for what's right for Andor, and Elaine is what's right for Andor. And you know, if Elaine didn't have Dylan, Elaine would not have won the
oh, of course not. Dylan would have been queen by the time Elaine got back.
Exactly.
But
Dylan's kind of a hero.
Yeah, if you remember, not also though, Elaine took her punches too. She grew a lot in the books.
She did.
She got hurt many times, like to the point of almost dying. You know, if it wasn't for the Emmons Fielders, she would have died so many times, from Nynaeve to Matt to Rand. Like she took her hits, and she learned, because she came into the story with a little bit of hubris, you know, like, oh, I'm just gonna go through the ways with this lady, you know, I'm coming, you know, like, let's go, you know. You know, she had no idea what she was like going into, and she had to learn a lot of things and grow up. And Bergetta helped her so much as well.
Right. We shouldn't ignore the fact that Elaine won because the many rebellions against her were finally quashed, partially because she could travel, and they didn't even know that. There was. And also, these houses weren't the greatest of great houses, but neither is Pennsylvania or Michigan the greatest of states. It's they just have this sense of importance within this certain thing that I don't know. I kind of want to keep this comparison going. To me, they were swing states, and if they had gone the other way, then she would have never had her throne.
Yeah,
Yes.
like states, I guess, and in a real way, they kind of were. You know, they had their own, you know, heads of their houses. You know, they had their own, soldiers, and they had their own, kinds of commerce that they, specialized in. So yeah, they had all that, and there were some of the houses were extremely powerful. They were more powerful than the House of Trakand or any other ones, and they some of those went the other way. Until who was it? What's his name? That really old, crazy old man who was the head of the strongest house, and I believe his granddaughter's name or
Oh yeah,
Sylvie?
his granddaughter
Sylvie.
like totally
Sylvie.
pretended.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sylvie was his.
Sylvie. She pretended to be like
and what was it?
know anything about anything, and
yeah, House Trakand welcomes you warmly, Sylvaise. And then I believe it was Lear who turned coat and said, and then she said, what did she say? She said, House of Trakand welcomes you too, Lear. And then in her mind, she says, but never warmly, though, never that. Something like that. I think that's right.
Mhm.
I could never focus on names like this, guys. London, when you read, do you remember stuff like this? Like, for me, I just glance over names. Like, I don't even like trigger them in my head, and then I have to go back and say, "Wait, who was this again?"
I don't remember every single name, but if they're like interesting to me, sure, yeah.
when they were going through the great houses, like that whole meeting with Elaine and the kids and stuff. Yeah.
Every single person in those meetings, no, but I remember them more just like based on how I imagine them looking, and then I forget their name. And so if somebody's like, but then other people imagine them in different ways. So I'm like, yeah, the guy that was like small, and everyone's like, we don't know who that is. And I'm like, in my head that makes sense. But yeah, I'm worse at the names. When it's like the really, really like super minor characters that you meet like twice.
Mm-hmm.
London, you said that you picture how people are in your head when you're reading them. That's so funny because the young lordlings that come to Elaine's side, I totally picture them as the kids in the Chronicles of Narnia when they like
the high seats,
like they're like the high seats.
That
because,
makes
like,
sense.
They haven't really grown into their shoes yet, but they're like the future. They're trying to be grown people. That's totally, because when you said that, I was like, I always picture them as being like the kids in Narnia. They're not brother and sister, of course, but that's totally what I picture. They're like the future greatness that you can see in them, but they're still little kids. That's always
and one of them like looking at Brigitta's ass. What was his Corndial? Wasn't that his name?
Corndial, more like
it was Corndial, I think. Yeah, it was hilarious. And Dylan and Brigitta got into like a little spit about it, actually.
With Andor, we get kind of this opening of the political realm of Ranland. But up until we see Andor and Camelin specifically, we don't. They didn't even have kings. They didn't even. There were no lords. There was nothing. There was a mayor. We all have mayors. Now we're getting into like weirdness. Like Kyrian is a good example of like where houses are the are houses a bigger deal in Andor or Kyrian?
I think they're about the same. I like they seem to function around the same to me.
Yeah, I think so too.
But they're just more devious, like outwardly devious. The House of Game or the House Game of Houses.
Well, Carrion and Andor are very different when it comes to that. The Game of Houses, which everyone does, but they're well more into it, way more into it in Carrion than they are in Andor.
Well, let's talk to that on a political level. Then, are we talking about like lobbyists and shit like that? No, like honestly, are we like? Is this? I mean, London, do you hear what I'm saying? Is it? Are we?
Yeah, I think if we like were to kind of put, like, if we were to put, because I mean, obviously they don't function in the same way that we do, because they don't have like a legislature or anything, because they're a monarchy. But I think if you were to kind of say like these characters, let's put them in our political system and see how they would operate. I think that like the Karianan would be more like likely to take like that money that that isn't from
money.
I think they would be dealing in like more dark money. They'd be doing more like just like weird kind of sketchy so stuff like that, where they're like well, this money, it came from somewhere, and like we've reported just enough to like sort of be legal, sort of. And
out of all cities in the Wheel of Time, Carrion's one of the ones that I'd kick it in all day. I'd want to go there because of the fun of it.
Yeah,
I think you would do well in Carrion.
The game of houses. If I think of a modern corollary, I can think of Great Gatsby. Right. I think of like old English novels, wherein how you dress, how you carry yourself, going to this party, going to that party, being seen with this person, all those, which I always thought was hella boring reading. But it is true. It happens. That was one way to gain like influence, would be basically like leveling up your prestige, like as if it were a video game, and you could actually level up your prestige by being able to dance the right way, being able to present yourself with nice fine clothing, and all those things really matter. And that's kind of how I see a lot of what's going on in Carrion.
Yeah, Megalopolis. Yeah. Was that Delilah?
I mean, the game of houses is what rules Carrion. So, it would be, if you could turn that to modern times, it'd be like the place where you'd see on like real TV, like I just saw Coraline with a sack of money and like sneaking behind so-and-so's door, something like that. But like it was, the higher up you were there, the more you could get away with. So, that's why the game of houses was more power than anything political in Carrion.
Because no one's getting like real titles. No one's like earning like legitimate titles bestowed upon them by the king. They're just mucking around amongst each other, like creating like building holdings and money and prestige.
I mean, those are the people who are the lobbyists, right?
Yeah.
Those the people that are the leaders of the great houses or closely associated with the great houses are your political structure. They are your senators, your very long-serving members of the House, committee chairs of the House, and the people who are actively agents in playing the game and gathering information for them. Those are the lobbyists. Those are the people who are the ones who are like, hey, I have this information. And then, or people who are merchants, wealthy merchants are lobbyists. They're trying to say, we don't want to sell our grain to XYZ nation. We want to keep it here. And this is why. And, so I don't think that people who are in the houses are actually the lobbyists. I think that powerful non-nobility in Kyrian are the lobbyists in that political structure.
And also keep in mind, when we come into the books, people in Carrion, they may be nobility and all of those things. Nobody's really doing that well. And Galdrian, I believe I think Rand's POV from Loyal, Galdrian was like paying for like fireworks and all this stuff to keep the people's minds off of all the bad things that were happening. And like they were still reeling from 20 years ago. The whole town was destroyed by the Aiel.
But also like a consolidation of wealth.
Yeah. Right. Oh God, most certainly. Like
an absolutely unfair like disproportionate like consolidation of wealth. And we see that when Rand goes in and starts catwalking the cradle, he's looking at wealth and opulence that he's
walking the cradle.
That he's cat crossing the courtyard. You know how it goes. It's all a word. Yeah.
His manner.
Every sword form is just every sword form is literally just magnetic poetry that he throws on a refrigerator. But yeah, like he's seeing wealth and opulence that he's never seen before and never dreamed of seeing.
Right. Tom is just one of several entertainers at the party. There's
Barthanus's party.
Yeah. So who would Barthanus be in our political realm if we were to think in like
Epstein.
as far is it an Epstein or is it kind of like more someone with maybe it is an Epstein. Jesus.
I don't know. Just I mean, there's so many rich people that are playing games right now and say
Well, yeah, but I mean, okay. So here's the thing, though. Barthanus gave himself up to the shadow.
Correct.
So he's Elon Musk.
So he's an evil person, and
you know what, Musk might be better. Yeah,
he's nothing but an underling, actually. You know, because we find so many times that the people that have this wealth, who are dark friends or whatever, end up having absolutely nothing. You know, they all end up having absolutely nothing. Like, you know, hence the father of lies. But you know, his political rival is Galdrian. And remember whose family Lord Barthanus belongs to.
Moraines.
Mm-hmm. He is one of the Demodreads who's
I forgot about that.
Turmoil and carrion for
and also Elaine.
Oh yeah, are the Demodreads like, they're such a bad family.
I mean, they have been remember we hear in she tells Swan in New Spring that great people talk about her grandmother in nightmares to scare children. You know, this family has been doing their people wrong for decades.
Is Moraine like a Liz Cheney then?
I don't think
so. Moraine is apolitical. Moraine is not political. Moraine is the leader of a nonprofit looking to change the world. She is not political. She's an activist, but she's not political.
Yeah, she's a blue. She's following a cause. She'll speak for things. Yes, exactly. You're right. She's an activist, but she's not yet.
She's like the guys who started Ben and Jerry's.
Hey, I'm from Vermont, man. I've been there. I've been to the Ben and Jerry's ice cream factory.
So have I.
Lovely. It's so good in Shelburne, Vermont. It's so delicious. It's lovely.
Ooh, I see Tito's.
Yeah, I knew it was Tito's just by the bottle cap when you were unscrewing the first time. I was like, I know. I'm from Texas. I live in Texas now. We have Tito's everywhere.
I need this. It's been a long couple weeks.
Nice.
Hey,
all right.
I
actually,
had sober October, so I feel you. It was a long October.
I'm starting sober everything right now. I'm no smoking, no drinking. This has been rough.
Proud of you.
So thank you.
It's a weird time to start that, like.
Yeah,
but okay.
For real.
I know.
Yeah, really.
Let's take a little break and see another political ad we may.
Okay.
All right, this one is
right. Before you hit play, let me say, speaking of proud of you, I'm proud of the chat too. Stay respectful, stay cool. You guys are always cool. We may talk about things you don't agree about, and just thanks for not being dicks. Always.
All right. And thanks for not showing us your dicks. All right, here we go. Narg. This is a Narg for mayor.
Oh yeah, Narg. Narg smart. Oh, we can't see it, right?
Oh, what?
We can hear it, but we can't see it.
I can hear it.
All right.
Right.
All right. I'm sucking right now. Hold on. I can't blame booze on this anymore. All right, here we go. And now start over.
Oh my God.
It's worth the wait.
All right.
Narg is smart. This much is true. Now is the time to judge how our beer has helped you. Narg smart.
Nargrit. I'm going to use my normal voice here for this campaign. My name is Nog, and I'm running for mayor of Edmondsfield. Nog is smart. I mean, I'm ridiculously smart. I went to the best schools. I was the top of my class. I studied civil engineering and city planning. I know what the Two Rivers in Edmondsfield specifically needs. I have major plans. I want to develop indoor plumbing, central sewage. I want to use the wine spring itself as a generator for electrical power. Because, frankly, I am concerned with the Edmondsfield plight. We came in and I see houses that are mostly still made of grass and straw, and this just isn't progress. Progress equals jobs. Jobs equals prosperity. Prosperity equals more children for Nog to eat. But I promise that I won't eat any of Edmondsfield children. I'm sure it's just the bears and the wolves. Please, when you go to Trolloc as your mayor, thank you and have a blessed day.
Edmondsfield deserves better. One who follows the law down to the letter. Narg the Trolloc is the go. Narg the Trolloc has my vote.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Up until the end there, I was voting for him. So
The last,
Chansonnet.
I stopped it too early, but the last political poster said, "Save the children for me." Oh, all right. Nope. Stop moshing chin. All right, we have more. We'll get to them later.
We have like 3 more, I think. At least. Oh gosh. Let's get back to politics within the wheel of time. Anything else about Kyrian or the game of houses itself? Is this a success? I guess. Is this a successful way to run Kyrian?
Well, it hasn't been,
it doesn't seem that way.
but we do see when you fast forward that things are going to have a little more cohesion in Carrion with their new ruler being Elaine. There's going to be a lot more sharing between the cultures of Andor and Carrion. So I'd like to think that they're going to probably meld a little bit. They're going to be a little more craftier in Andor and a little less craftier in Carrion.
I mean, Camelin was absolutely destroyed in the last battle. So I almost wonder if they don't become one nation. She was already merging those things together when she took the traitors from the people who were against her and she made them lords and ladies in Kyrian, and then what's the word I'm looking for? Expelled them. What's that word? When exiled them, and then but she gave Kyrianan lords Andoran property. That's what she did. She took the land away from the people that rebelled against her, and then she took Kyrianan lords and made them, for all due purposes, lords of Andor. I think we're gonna see a much more homogeneous intermingling, more like maybe Ireland and England.
Keep in
thing,
mind,
maybe
Elaine is half Carrion herself. So.
Yeah, she is Kyrianan. Yeah.
Well, that, and I mean, she did. Every person in Carrion saw her battling outside of the walls of Carrion. So that's gonna matter, I think. Like at the end of it,
yes,
where,
absolutely.
like she. I mean, if it wasn't for. I mean, she came really near to getting killed in that. So I mean,
the speech as well.
Yeah, you get my vote. If I'm not that they vote, but like you know, I would think that she has enough like public approval that they'd almost have to.
And then she's gonna have two. She's gonna have 2 children. So one, if they don't become one nation, one will be the leader of Kyrian, and the other will be the leader of Andor. and things will
Right.
continue on.
When I think of Kyrian, I think almost like tiny little city states of these houses as opposed to one homogeneous country. And I'm probably just wrong in that, but I mean a lot of these people have their own armies and shit. It's like Sparta and Athens and Ithaca and Troy and go ahead.
That's just one part of Carrion, though.
Yeah, I think that would be more appropriate in an analogy with Tyr than Kyrian. The great houses of Tyr are nowhere near as united as Kyrian. Tyr didn't have a king. Tyr had, their Council of Lords and the High Lord Council. Thank you. And the segregation between nobility and non-nobility in Kyrian is so much. I mean, in Tyr is so much more stark than Kyrian is.
Yeah, and none of these seem to be really good examples of kingdoms working, like this kind of idea of genetic like power,
monastic
right? And
dynasties.
if we think, and if we think about our our history, the London has, not you London, but England has a king and a queen, but they're just mostly representational and almost a walking metaphor. We do have, I guess, Saudi Arabia. Do you guys know that Saudi is actually the name of the family? The Saudi royal family, they just named the country after the family. It's just like Arabia. But they're like, well, hey, we're so powerful, we're going to call it Saudi Arabia. That's
There's one in Monaco as well.
Yeah, there's lots of European nations that still have monarchies.
Belgium still does too.
I personally think I personally think it's that shit's silly. And I don't see. I'm a huge fan of democracy. I'm a huge fan of like people's power to change their futures. I don't believe in ascribed power like that. What do you guys think of this? Do you think Robert Jordan is like making commentary on that also in how he is organizing these places and talking about it? London, go ahead.
Well, I mean, we don't actually see a democracy in the Wheel of Time.
The closest would be Two Rivers.
The closest would be the Two Rivers. I guess we don't really get a good idea of what their voting process is, but my impression with the Two Rivers is that the mayor is selected by the village council, right? It's not popular vote for everybody in the Two Rivers.
Correct. I think you're right.
Okay, and then the wisdom is then decided by the women's circle. So it's not like everyone just gets to decide who are the leaders of these towns. But but that's still the closest. We get some votes. But there's no other society where where the leadership is voted on by the people that they're supposed to be, governing, which because even the Aes Sedai, they kind of have internal processes, but it has nothing to do with the people in Tar Valon. They have no say in it.
Right. Well, who does run Tar Valon?
I think the White Tower manages it. They make it kind of clear because there's garbage in it there, and then Elaine is like, "There's garbage here. How could Elida let there be garbage here?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
she's supposed to be walking around picking it up by herself.
She's supposed to make sure it happens. I don't know, but
well, pretty much the people that took care of things like maintenance in Tar Valon, every time you heard about something like that needed to be done, they would say, the tower masons or the tower guard or, the servants were out there doing this or the loggers. So they had all those things. People had to do that. They were very, very wealthy. They had money. They were getting money from every which way. But, the thing about, we talk about democracy and stuff. The thing about when you're talking about democracy, we should switch over sometimes to the commoners, because in a lot of these tiny little monarchies and political things, some of them are in such a way that the commoners don't even deal with any of it. They're pretty much going on about their own lives and don't care, as long as, like, they even mention this sometimes, as long as it rains, the farmers are happy, or as long as the fish are coming in, the dock masters are happy, like,
right. Two Rivers didn't even know they were part of Andor.
Yeah, and so in some places like Tyr, that were pressing down on their commoners, they called peasants, and life was a lot harder because they were treated so badly by, and they were affected so badly by the nobility there. But even the Shanshan, which we haven't even got to yet, they pretty much, if you weren't in the high blood, you weren't even noticed. You could go about your everyday life. As long as you bent your head and kissed the floor, you could go on and do whatever you pretty much wanted, as long as you weren't, breaking the law. That
as long as you couldn't channel.
As long as you couldn't channel. Exactly.
Well, and as long as you didn't have some relative that did something like way back in the past, and now you're basically born into
slavery.
Right? Like there's a lot of bummers about the Shanshan. But
a lot of bummers. And then, there's also places like Amadicia, which you were talking earlier about London, like not London, but like that, had a king, but he was pretty much just like a figurehead, a showpiece. That's the same thing that's happening in Amadicia, because they have they're pretty much ruled by Pedro Nile at the time when we start looking at them.
Right. So, all right. So again, not getting like political, but can we say that Ahmadiyya is kind of like Lebanon in that it has a militaristic force that is more or less in charge of its political structure?
See, I'm thinking like the Iron Curtain, man. Like, you don't want to go like that. You don't want to go there. Like, if you're going in there, you better be clean, like, because you're not getting out. Like, it's like back when the Berlin Wall, when you were like, you're going into some other spy masters, and like, one wrong move, you're gonna get executed. Like, so.
Right, but that all comes from a power in charge. Ahmadiyya is the White Cloaks are a fundamentalist military group that works on its own and does its own raids. And
you could look at a large number of countries in both Asia and Africa that would fall into that category.
Yes.
We hear about it all the time.
Like the Boa Raton,
with coups, military coups that come up and they overthrow the existing government, and military takes control of the government, and it happens. Civil unrest happens it's happening even in Central America right now.
Yeah.
And so in the northern part of South America. So it's everywhere. The military overreach is a problem worldwide, not just,
right. But in Ahmadiyya, the military, Ahmadiyya has its own military. The White Cloaks aren't the only military. There's Ahmadiyyan soldiers. So the White Cloaks are more like Lebanon or someplace that has, I don't want to say what we would call like terrorist organizations that kind of run, that kind of run like the country. And it's like, you have your government in name, and they have their military in like name, but there's this whole other organization that actually is more powerful. What?
They're allowed to exist. All the countries acknowledge them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing. Like, everyone's like, they're not a terrorist organization, but like they kind of are.
Noman Garden just said in chat that the White Cloaks are like the Taliban.
They
completely.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well, because they are ungovernable and they're fundamentalist as fuck. They are Sharia law, if that's what Sharia law would dictate. I mean, they are the religion, the military religion. Much like, I mean, I guess a prophet would have turned into the White Cloaks if he was just more organized, right?
Well, they were. If you go into the White Cloaks' history, they were very different at the very beginning of their history. What's the guy's name? Lothair Mantragar or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well done.
I actually knew that one for once.
Yeah,
Good
know
job.
that.
I needed to hear it to know it.
The White Cloaks were persecuted, and they had to run around almost like the tough Tuathalan. They had to run around because they were being persecuted. They started fighting back and getting followers who started fighting back and became a military institution. And that's how they formed. So they were about peace, and this is like it was one man's vision of like, and I kind of think of like almost like what's the dude who started Mormonism? What's his name?
Joseph
Smith.
Or
who thought he had a really good idea, who wrote something, and then it got twisted in a lot of people's minds and morphed over time into something that he didn't create.
Right.
And
I
that's
look at. Sorry, go ahead.
Or it's like, or like when you think of like pilgrims and Quakers and stuff, and they have these like ideals that they're very peaceful, right? Like these are like not necessary. I mean, in some ways they're, but whatever. But like ideal wise, they come from like this spot, and they transform over time into something that. I mean, these are people that like left Europe, left like Britain to live the way they wanted to live, and then they become corrupt and they become violent, and eventually, I don't know, morph into like the most aggressive parts of the evangelical church or whatever.
Yeah,
like whatever it is. Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say was you can picture it's almost like the beginnings of the White Cloaks or the Children of the Light were like the first century early Christian church, right? They were people who were persecuted, who were looking for a safe place. And then eventually over time, as that became a more accepted point of view regionally, there was power involved with that. And then you had powerful people come in. And then over several hundred years, look what happened to, when the first Roman emperor was like, I'm Christian, then they all went to hell. It literally all, then there was military involved, and there was power struggles involved, and there was expansion. It was all done in the name of Christianity, in the name of religion. And, I mean,
that's what sometimes I think of the White Cloaks is.
That's what I think of. I think of like anything from like the Crusades in
I think
1200s to the
Inquisition,
to the Spanish Inquisition in the 1500s, and really over the top,
all their swords,
zealotry,
crosses, like
yes,
like,
zealotry in disguise of protection.
But to your point is so the way that I have it on my SAT form, it's like White Cloaks are to Taliban, say, as Dragonsworn are to Proud Boys. Like
are Dragonsworn religious? Are Proud Boys religious though? Because Dragonsworn are
necessarily.
I think they generally are a Christian organization, though.
Okay.
If they're yelling "Jews won't replace," I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. But I think that a belief in God is a part of their tenets.
Okay. I mean, I haven't really been super interested in joining, obviously. So
yeah.
Hey, stand by and stand down.
No. No, they brought Bud Light back to their parties, so their parties are kind of cool.
Okay, Brooke.
No.
I would like to bring up the Aiel. I have a question. How are the clan chiefs chosen? Remind me.
The wise ones, they oversee the people who they have to request it, and then they get a yes or a no.
The request is to go to Meridian, correct?
Yeah.
And then everyone waits to see if they die, and if they do, then somebody else can request it later or whatever.
Yeah. I think 3 wise ones have to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that the Aiel form of governance is the most sustainable or the most like the most stable that we see in the books?
Well, they're not like large. I mean, the Aiel are not governing kingdoms, right? So it's not like so every clan has its own governance. They just all happen to have adopted like the same way of doing it, but it's not like the Aiel are. I mean, they call themselves a nation later, but they're not really. They're all their own individual little governments that kind of function in the same way. I mean, I think they're sustainable for something that exists that's always in hardship, where you would need like maybe those more. Because they're not a democracy either. They're not ruled by the people at all.
They also have a very, very large crutch. You know, they have like a smoke detector on steroids. You know, like they have a device that tells them if they're going to screw up or not.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
That's true.
Reading,
okay.
You know, that is like what, you know, the defining thing for them. They have something that helps guide them through all of this.
They certainly were consistent but up until where Rand comes, because now everyone is scattered. So what if Ruark dies in Eridomon? What do the Tardad have until someone goes back to Viridian? So right to your point, it was the most stable until they left the Threefold's land.
Yeah, for me, I always felt like an allegory for the Aiel was the Native People's League of, like, I think it was called the League of Nations.
They're the 12 tribes of Israel. They're
but also
representative
remember, as soon as Ruark dies, Amos becomes the clan chief until
another one is picked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look what happened with Savannah. Look what happened with Savannah. She was married to, what's his name? Couladin's brother. What was his name? Who didn't come out of the columns?
Starts with an M.
Couladin's brother,
Meriden, thank you. And so she was married to him, and then when he didn't come back, Savannah became clan chief de facto until another clan chief was selected. And then, you know, she named herself a wise one, and the women were like, her wise women ones say she's a wise one. So she had both. She had all the power. Talk about autocratic government there.
You know, yeah, to that point, the Aiel clans and such remind me of the mob to a certain degree. You have like the family, and then you have crews. You have your own crew. Oh yeah, I'm a stone dog, but I'm still part of this family, the Lucchesi's or whatever. But you have your own like mob, and the mob boss, the clan chief, is more or less just taking care of interpersonal shit. Like, so, oh, you got into a problem with the Stone Crow. Okay, we gotta pay this debt, or we have a blood feud. Let's try to settle this. Like, they always, like, it seems like Soprano shit to me.
Yeah, but they have the societies. So the societies keep them all mingled together, despite, you know, wherever, you know, clans they belong to. And remember, you know, we hear about this from Ruark and a couple of the other clan chiefs. You know, each society does a service. You know, like Red Shields do things that like thief catchers do. And, you know, like water seekers obviously look for water, things like that. So certain like societies help the Aiel as a whole. You know, they have so many things that keep them binded together, even though they fight each other. And the fight is, you know, one of the punishments. So they have to do that to get better and hone their skills for the last battle.
It says the clan chief is just a clout position. The clan chief still must obey the wise one, as do all Aiel.
The clan chief doesn't have to obey the wise one.
No.
It's just a solid plan to obey. Like,
yeah, nice. And yeah, and another clan chief, like, so I guess the wise ones technically kind of are clanless in a way, but they also are not.
Well,
so
they're not clanless. They still represent their clans, but they have, because this is the thing that's not been discussed at all, is the code of honor that the Aiel have. Giotto is a very strict covenant of rules that is always supposed to be followed. And it wasn't until you had the Shido being Savannah taking control of the Shido and basically just letting them do whatever the heck they wanted to do, every person in power in the Aiel culture respected Giotto and respected the covenants that the intermingling of the tribe had. Even if there was blood feud, right, and you would have raids and stuff like that, they knew those raids were to obtain cattle and goods, and also to keep them honed for when the day came that they were going to have to fight in, you know, with the returning of Rand. So that's one of the whole reasons why they fought amongst each other, but they still had honor. You know, like if you got touched, if you weren't injured in battle and you were touched, you were Guy Shine, and after a year and a day, you were released back to your home. And I mean, so there was just a code of honor that was always intrinsic.
If you were touched,
that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. So, you know, it's a code of honor that the Aiel take very seriously. And Savannah bastardized it, right? She just totally threw it out and twisted it into what she wanted. And
she refused to concede. She did not go to the inauguration. She said,
I didn't want to make any
said
comparisons.
We must fight.
She is very much suspend the Constitution. That's
yes. I would agree with that statement.
Am I the only one who thinks of the Aiel like the Native American societies? I've always thought that like Rand represented like America, like British coming in and like kind of taking over the native peoples. Yeah,
colonization,
and how they organize themselves. They were like they
remnant
had their
over remnant. Yeah,
they had a League of Five Nations. They had ways of solving disputes. When they battled, they didn't kill each other like as much as you think they did. It was more like ceremony, like. And they had they were kind of all like believed in animism. They had these central themes that went throughout them, but also they had their own little fiefdoms. I don't know what you call them, yeah. So am I the only? Has anybody else thought that?
Well, I as well. Yeah. Go ahead. Yes.
Held like them together. All of them, because if an Aiel clan loses Giotto, they basically become brigands. That's exactly what happened. There was rape, like mad drunkenness, like fighting everywhere when they lost Giotto. So they don't become Aiel anymore without that. And it was, and it's like there were, like I said before, there were so many things that held them all together, just for this one moment.
I do think that there's parallelisms in comparing them to the indigenous people here. I do think that is something that you can definitely say. I think you can also say that there are some parallelisms in like the 13 colonies of the original United States. If you remember, there's that story where Benjamin Franklin uses the one arrow can be broken, right? You can break it by itself, but when you put 13 arrows together, it's almost impossible to break. You could almost use that same symbolism for the Aiel. One tribe or one clan can be broken, but when you put them all together, they are this fierce force that is almost unbreakable. And so there's definitely parallelisms for sure.
I love that, Beth.
I love that.
All right, is anybody ready for another political ad?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys know that Sen Bowie used to be the mayor of Two Rivers before Bran Alvear usurped his power?
I did not know.
You learn something new every day, don't you, Jansen, in London? You learn something new every day.
Sam Bowie's the most interesting man in Randland.
Okay.
All right, so here we go.
Drink some more of this drink here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This
You're
is
full screen, right?
We're family friendly. Here we go. Sam Bowie for mayor. Gotta put the.
I like that.
Now a message from Master Senbui.
It's not.
Well, I've no like for this sort of talk, you know this. But something must be done. Before Alvear became mayor 20 years ago, the village council met at a neutral site, and we hashed out what's best for the village together. This horrible phrase Copland talk didn't exist. This was created by our mayor to divide
Oh, no.
Oh no!
Buffering.
How will I know who to vote for?
Oh, Alvir did not want this shown. He
No,
just
this is
blocked it.
censorship.
You are right. Corruption.
Oh my gosh.
That's
I
fascinating.
didn't realize I had my hands so prominently in these.
Oh
Your
no, I
puppeteering
guess.
has just gotten better with time.
Now you don't even say.
Feel folk.
Okay.
I think that this.
What is happening? This never happens. All right, now I'm really okay. That's funny because we'll get into that later.
Yeah,
We-
Adam, this is censorship. Yeah, interesting.
Level of evil, for real.
Do we see censorship occurring in the Wheel of Time?
Sure.
Oh,
In a
yeah.
way.
Give me examples.
The 13th repository.
Oh, yeah.
Hidden information. Stuff that's not open to everybody to know.
And we see it even in very much milder situations,
It's
too.
not even censorship, but it's just hiding
like,
all
you know,
factual
the
knowledge.
debate,
Mm-hmm.
how some people think things are indecent men's pants and
Yeah.
riches
Mm.
people think are indecent. You know, those are small little like taboos that like, you know, we see. But yeah, there's censorship. There's things that people hide from people all the time. The White Tower does it all the time. It doesn't tell everyone everything. We get that in one of Rand's POVs where he says the White Tower would tell people nothing and have it come on them. Rand doesn't believe it that way. He wants to tell everyone everything what's going on, and he was referring to the Forsaken being loose.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think let's see. I think we're back. We're back.
Okay.
Brad out here, come on.
This was created by our mayor to divide us and then folk feel folk. I think that this so-called Copland talk is a stifling of healthy debate and open discussion. And yet our mayor throws around this offensive term whenever someone challenges him. Copland talk is not fake talk, Mr. Mayor. He's probably going to say that I'm too old and that I've lost a step, that I don't have the stamina for the job. But I want to remind the mayor this. We two river folk, we live by the land and suffer when the weather destroys our crops. The mayor has become the richest man in town through tourism. Now, you know, I've no liking for strangers. None of us do, really. But our mayor has been actively encouraging these very people to come ogle our fireworks and take in our gleeman, all to fill his coffers. The mayor has hired these extreme sorts of entertainment when we're in a time of war and winter not ending. This is not what's best for Emmonsfield. It's what's best for Mayor Alvir. And this must stop. I've no liking for this at all, but, well, it just won't stand. It's not right.
Oh my
Send Bowie for mayor.
It's not right.
Okay.
You know, I like a populist candidate. I like him. I'd vote for him.
All right.
All right. Thank you for that. I can't believe you guys have been a part of this channel for. You haven't seen these?
No.
No.
This is amazing. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Well, you said that these were years ago, right?
like 4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I like 4 years ago, we were all locked away in our houses. And
Mhm.
I had just like, that was the time when I discovered that the Wheel of Time even had a fandom.
Me too.
Same.
Mhm.
Me
And I was
too.
like, holy smokes, who are these people? So yeah, that's why. Yeah. You need to re-release all
Yeah.
of these.
It's crazy. I still have COVID.
Let's see what else politically the Shanshin are obviously they have an empress. May she live forever. She is not only the leader of the country, but she is a deity of sorts, which is similar to, say, like ancient Egypt, the sun god pharaohs,
or dynastic China.
Yeah,
or
The emperors of
or
China.
Japan. Yeah. So there is not a whole lot of political intrigue, you would think, but guess what? There's tons. This is an assassin-friendly system.
Yeah.
Where it's political Darwinism. If you literally can survive, then you literally will be the empress, and that's the case with Tuon. She has all these siblings that got killed off before she became.
Well, she killed some of them, or hired that. Like,
Yeah.
Emma killed the rest.
Yeah,
for real.
in a way, kind of did her a favor, though,
she did
right?
her a solid. That's what I was gonna say.
Yep.
She did.
So we think of this as being some like way back thing, but guess what? Being the president of the United States is statistically the most dangerous job you could ever have. There's only been 46 of them, and 6 have been killed or something like that in office, or shot at, or a bullet has entered 6 people's bodies, I think. So we're not that far off from this sort of shit that Tuon is dealing with on a certain level, right?
On a certain level.
I think it's different because political assassinations here in the States are done not by siblings or people that are rulers of great houses. They're done by
Kennedy.
Well, we're not going to get into. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but the assassination attempts on people they're not people with great power actually pulling the trigger.
Yeah, it's not like embedded in the system.
Exactly.
It's not like running for mayor in Mexico, right? Like where you're just like they're just taking them out left and right.
Yeah.
To get dark. If you're hip to Mexico, right? It's all bad down there.
So there is that sort of dynamic there, but again, we don't have to go that far back to see when you have a dynasty and you are the spare rather than the heir. Well, there are some incentives to having your big brother killed or big sibling or whatever. So these things have occurred for up until a long time, and killing a person in power is still a thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's still a thing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, with great power comes great responsibility. But also you should learn to duck. I mean, George Bush almost got a shoe. That shoe could have killed him, but he ducked, right? So I mean, if you're nimble, you might be able to last longer. The Age of Legends, supposedly this amazing time. What was the political structure in the Age of Legends, and why did it work so well?
There were different kinds, I think. Are you talking about before the War of Power, during the War of Power, after the War of Power? Before the War of Power, it was pretty much a utopia. So,
but so politically though, like who was running it? How did they get there? And
there were still 9 rods of dominion. There was still the chair of what was it?
The electric chair.
The ring, the rings of dominion, or the 9
dominion were like continent, kind of.
Yeah, there were still power though structures. To Ryan's point.
Yeah, London, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, we don't know that it was exactly utopia. We only have the viewpoint. The only viewpoint we get of the Age of Legends are the people that were in the most power during the Age of Legends, and they saw it as a utopia. But if you were able to, if people are turning to the shadow in the Age of Legends, it's not a utopia, because there's no
Right.
reason why anyone would swear to the Dark One in a utopia, in a utopian society.
I mean,
Well,
they're
And
humans.
well, what? Well, sure, but you. I mean, I just think that like our perspective of the Age of Legends, and even like Luz Theron admits to this, our perspective of the Age of Legends is coming from the people that had the most power and that had the most, like, these were all people that had the best intentions, right?
That's a
But
great
it's still
point, yeah.
but it still led to, I mean, it still eventually led to the breaking of the world.
I mean,
So
we also get Charn and Jonai's as well.
Yeah,
Sure.
but this is the thing. So like my podcast, we did 2 episodes on this about Utopia and the Age of Legends, and they're still human beings, right? They're human beings, and Utopia is Delving the Chronicles. Thank you for the plug. Utopia is bound to fail, because even if you have the best intentions, you are still going to have people who are wondering, why am I a plumber? Why do I have to be the trash collector? There's going to be people that want to aspire to be better. There's going to be people who are in power, who are ultimately going to want more power or are going to abuse that power. It's being human.
There's also a lot of people walking around with ageless faces who can't get off.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, that's true. Because that's how criminals were found, guilty.
They got bound.
They were bound.
I thought you were talking about something else, Jansen.
Getting off.
Anything that turned somebody on that was looked on bad, that would get them off, they were bound against it. They couldn't do it. So yeah, they would go to the.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, and who Mogedion was Grendel was a therapist. Why did people need therapy?
Well, and we also had an entire race of people, I will say, that were servants. That were the Aiel were only servants, and I mean, they were more or less, in my head, they were house elves. They were Dobbies. Were these?
I don't think so, because they were also honored. They were also honored.
Well,
they had a place of honor in society. They were not house slaves, house elves.
But just that you couldn't hit them.
they were more like Jains. They were like people that followed Jainism. So it's like the do no harm thing, but like still, because even like when the guy accidentally ran into the Aiel, he felt like he recognized him and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I ran into you." So clearly they're respected in some way.
Sure, he didn't want to damage someone's property, and I dig it. But I mean,
I don't think it was that.
If they
We're
want
not
tea, they just
property.
hold out their cup,
Dan.
and an Aiel comes and fills it. I mean, they were the I mean, what did they do with channeling Aiel? We know that Aiel could channel. Were there?
I kind of look at it more for the Aiel, and as the actor here, or at least one of the actors here, I'm going to say that I'm going to bring up the show.
Okay.
And if you remember, I believe it was episode 3, where it was all the warders talking to Nynaeve about about them being servants of all. And it was such a believable scene for me, how they portrayed that to Nynaeve, that how proud they were to help them, being servants of all. And I like to think of the Aiel pledge as the same way. They were pledged to help the Aes Sedai help everyone. And they were pledged to do it without harming anybody and helping, and they helped in a bunch of different things for a bunch of different kinds of Aes Sedai. They helped in tree singing. They helped in a lot of those things. And I think that they were an attachment of being servants of all, because they were almost like Aes Sedai who couldn't channel.
Yeah.
They still made a pledge to help them and help the people in their way. They just couldn't channel.
They were the lay people. They were the lay people of the people who could channel, right? They were the people who were doing the work the menial work, which doesn't necessarily mean it was bad work.
Yeah.
So the immigrants were taking the IEL jobs sort of thing. I mean,
no,
like,
but no, because the IEL were interspersed. They were dispersed between every aspect of society. The Aes Sedai were interspersed. There were people who were Aes Sedai who specialized in weather. So they would have Aiel who would help with weathery things. And then you'd have Aiel, like Grendel before she became Grendel, probably had people that took notes for her or did all kinds, you know what I mean?
Which is also why when Moradin or Ishmael left the Aes Sedai and didn't have people like the Aiel, he created the Zumar.
So but we don't see any Aiel of any significant power or substance within there.
Well, maybe they don't. They're no longer considered Aiel when they become Aes Sedai. If they have the ability to channel, because they did do testing. Shadi just put it in chat a little while ago. Every person goes through testing to see if they have the ability to channel. It's almost like the Jedi Order. If you have the ability to channel, you're taken away from your family and you're put into training, see what your specialty is, and you're raised up and you're trained in that, and then that's where you go. It's, very Star Wars Jedi temple kind of thing. And so, but Aiel were still tested.
And they could have still followed the way of the leaf.
They still could have followed the way of the leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that probably Tinkers. I mean, we know that sometimes Tinkers go to the White Tower. There's nothing that says that they don't follow the way of the leaf, even after they become Aes Sedai.
No, I guess I'm just, if you don't channel, then your role is essentially to serve an Aes Sedai, which is to me, it is. I mean,
it's
apartheid.
Let me just say something real quick, because this is kind of,
it was a choice.
It's triggering me a little bit. And I have to say this, okay? Because you serve in a capacity doesn't mean that you are less than or you are a servant. There was no currency in the Age of Legends. Everybody had a job to do. Everybody was given housing. Everybody had food that was provided for them. The Aiel were a subset of people that were doing jobs. And to say that they were less than because the capacity of an Aiel was to serve an Aes Sedai, they weren't menial laborers. They weren't looked down on. They weren't abused. That was their
I'm not
role.
suggesting that at all. I'm suggesting that their ceiling was much lower than normal people.
So their ceiling would have been lower than the person who wasn't an Aiel, who was a plumber, or their person their serving was lower than the person that was the baker.
It was
also
It seems like it was, if you were born Aiel, you were born to serve Aes Sedai.
Everybody in the Age of Legends was born to serve someone somehow.
Who did Luce Theron? What was Luce Theron? Who was Luce Theron born to serve?
Everybody. He was a servant of all. That's what Aes Sedai meant in the old tongue. Servant of all.
Sure. So he had, well, okay. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I don't want to.
He had power. I'm not saying he didn't have power. He didn't have things that were given to him and wealth that was accumulated in a certain way.
And there was hubris and all that stuff.
Yes. But that's why utopian societies cannot work. But to say that the Aiel were a marginalized people,
I think
because they served Aes Sedai,
I think
not a true statement. I don't think it's a true statement.
Well, if
they were also trusted with the most powerful things in the world at the end of the world as they knew it, the Aes Sedai also trusted them with all of the Angreal, Sangreal, and Terangreal.
Sure, but you would want your daughter to have more opportunities than an Aiel had in the Age of Legends, right?
No. Because the Aiel were honored. They were honored. You have a family business. If you were in the Age of Legends and your parents were bakers in the Age of Legends, and they had no association with any Aiel, but they were bakers, your kids were almost guaranteed to also be bakers.
Yeah,
that was the problem with anything in the Age of Legends.
Yeah, it's a problem.
But to say that the Aiel were worse off because they served Aes Sedai than the average person who was a laborer, a tradesman in the Age of Legends isn't right, because everybody had their role. Everybody had to do their role for society to perform and society to function.
But that comes down.
Sorry, no, go ahead. I got on a
Yeah,
little bit of a
please.
soapbox, but
Oh no, I was like, that kind of comes down to like, I think the big problem with the Age of Legends and why like we were talking about utopias aren't sustainable.
Yes.
Is because they lack choice. Because so everything can seem perfect because everyone has what they need. But when you take choices away from people, eventually things are going to start to fall apart.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. And it does seem, I guess the term I was using is a caste system. It does seem that there's somewhat of a caste system, I guess.
Utopian societies are built on caste systems.
Every time.
Utopian societies are built on everybody having a job, everybody having a role, and there's still going to be a few people
And everyone
in
having
power.
limits.
Like when you go to Dubai, everybody who lives there's a millionaire, but there's this little town next to it that's full of shit.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's
all right. So hey, I think maybe a happier subject to talk about. We haven't touched upon the Ogier, and they're discussing it in chat. And I think it'd be a good way to end the show is let's talk about Ogier, perhaps as Uber Spearman said, the most democratic of the societies. What do you guys think of this statement? The Ogre were very democratic in the Great Stump. The Ogre had the chance, male or female, to move the opinion.
Mm-hmm. Anyone could speak just so long as you weren't boring. Once you kind of lost everyone's attention, you better leave. But
I believe you had to speak.
Lowell's mom spoke for like 24 hours straight, and everyone was just captivated.
What'd you say, Jensen?
I said I think you had to be married to speak.
Oh, interesting.
Either old enough to speak or married to speak.
Wait, did
I think you're right.
Was Loyal married before he spoke?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
because Coverall got mad at his mom and said, any married man can speak to the stump. She said that to
Ooh, fascinating.
And he is my husband.
Yeah, you gonna let me control my husband?
She was like, he's my son. Yeah. And she was like, he is my husband.
Well, the Ogier seem matriarchal to me.
They definitely are.
Yeah. So like a married man can speak. Can a married woman, like, does a woman have to be married to speak? I don't think that.
Well, the best speakers apparently seem to be women in Ogier.
Right, but do they have to be married?
I don't know. I know that a married man had the right to speak.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. But
okay.
The way they also have a pacifist society, unless severely provoked. But keep in mind that is just one kind of Ogier, because we have Ogier that live in Shanshan who live a very, very different life. Because after the breaking, they were there, and I'm not sure that they have the longing or any of those things.
They don't, because there's more steading available in Shanshan, so they never had the longing.
Oh, we were discussing that? Okay, so that's how it works?
Mm-hmm. They were never separated for steading long enough to develop that particular problem.
They use like an IV of steading that they just tap into,
or just proximity. But when they come to Ranland, the steading are not so consolidated. Will they eventually get a longing?
Doubtful.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to. They developed the longing over a course of like 2,000 years.
Yeah.
I mean, not only that though, but they can also use gateways to get to a steading whenever they want. A gateway will open right outside of a steading, and they can walk however many paces in and be there. So I don't think that would ever be a problem in the fourth age.
I mean, I'm just thinking hypothetically, if they had it.
So on some level, so there is it just age determinant? Is it just age alone and ability to speak, which like affects the Ogier like power? Who has all the power?
It does seem age does matter. Even the Gleeman says, "Oh, I'm supposed to listen to an Ogier without a beard."
Well, we do that too, right? I mean, you have to be 35 to be president. They have to be 100 to be like. I mean, we have age restrictions on who can govern.
But we certainly age them out or they, you know, like we do have this kind of like cap in our mind, like, well, that's too old, and it seems like the Ogier don't, but also they just live.
True.
They live for. I mean, I appreciate
do we really
that.
age them out though?
Yeah.
Do we really?
I mean, this is the yeah. It would be nice if we did, but we don't.
No, I hear you, but there is just kind of like almost a respect for the elders, an elder worship in a way. Is this the best society? Is this the best way to manage groups of people? Are we seeing it through the alien Ogier? Is that the lesson Robert Jordan's telling us?
I think the Ogier is
I like the Ogier's way of living.
yeah.
I'm a poker player, and
Well, you love talking.
I believe that, like, you know, life is poker, and poker is patience and well-timed aggression. And I think that the Ogier are exactly that.
Ooh, I like that.
I mean, I think also the Ogier are a very small population. They're number-wise a very small group of people, and it's much easier to self-govern in that kind of situation than if you're dealing with millions and millions of humans.
Yeah, because they're like villages. It's more like a village council.
Yeah.
Right.
So when they talk about the Ogier violence, is there ever evidence of Ogier on Ogier violence, or is it right? Like,
I don't think
that
so.
sounds pretty amazing to me.
I don't think so.
Two bears fighting over a salmon.
I don't think so. Not that I can.
So I guess that's a lesson. If we want to start wrapping up, like, you know, we've been talking about politics and power, and the pursuit of power, and how power is wielded, and what it's like to be susceptible, or the subject of that power. And now when we talk about the Ogiers, that egalitarian system where disputes are given over to the ancestors, in a way, to the elders, and not the ancestors, the elders, and there's no, it's almost like the most non-violent, you know, society that we see represented in Randland. I would like to think that that's the, you know, the lesson Robert Jordan is in a way like giving us, that, you know, humans being humans, they oh shoot, let's we almost had two Londons there. That humans being human and human flaws, you know, someone said earlier the big flaw is that humans bend the knee so easily. I would like to say that the Ogiers, being literally not from this world, are teaching us how we should be composing ourselves, and in our own small communities, maybe we could all create more Ogier-like situations within our families, within our neighborhoods. If you are a manager and you go to Costco, maybe you could take some sort of Ogier traits with you to create a more peaceful and just society, which we all could use.
Ryan, let me piggyback off that. We are the way of the leaf, and let's also emulate the Tinkers. The Tinkers do not have border issues. They don't. If you need them, you can join them. They are there for love. They're there for drum circles. They're there for giving food. And if there's violence, they run away and regather and try and avoid all that shit. And they just accept. They just bring people in, and they'll steal your kids because they have drum circles and tie dye and stuff. They're cool.
Chansonnet, just don't start tree singing in the middle of a Costco. I mean, if you want to, you do you. You live your best life. You start tree singing if you want.
Be a good way to get people to not talk to you. Like.
Yes.
So before we close, y'all, anybody who's listening out there, I just want y'all to know, hey, tonight the sun sets and tomorrow's the sun's gonna rise, just like the same shit's gonna happen in 7 days. I love all y'all, whoever the fuck anybody votes for, I don't care. I just hope y'all stay safe, everybody, and stay up.
But no matter who you vote for, if you can vote, please vote.
Yeah.
No matter who you vote for, there are so many people who just take it for granted that we live in America, and they maybe don't feel like their vote counts either way. But I mean, there are people in this world who don't live here who would love to have the opportunity for something that we take for granted. So please, if you haven't voted, just please go Tuesday and vote, because it's so very, very, very important to exercise that right that we
and
have.
vote all the way down your ballot, no matter who
Yes.
you're voting for. Like, vote for your village council. It's going to matter in your life probably more than whoever's the president.
sure.
So
Local elections matter.
Well said.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Vote as often as you can. Is my theory.
Ryan,
God, Ryan.
vote one time in every election.
Yes.
All right. And if you haven't yet, everyone, we do have a merch shop. It's called The Way the Leaf, myspreadshop.com. Get all your best and favorite The Way the Leaf gear.
Those are so
this. I'm not shown this in a while, but we got some great designs. We'll be adding to this soon. But hey, that's my plug. I want you guys to have an opportunity to plug yourselves. Beth Doman, what do you have coming up that we can all look forward to?
I think I'm streaming tonight. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'll decide after we get done here. And what do we have coming up? We're doing a special drop of Delving the Chronicles this week. We were very fortunate, even though I had a migraine yesterday and had to miss it, to have Lauren from Unraveling the Pattern on to do 2 episode recordings. One of them will be a few months down the road. The other one will be dropping this week, and it's going to be talking specifically about the WoT Idol Holiday Edition that's coming out
Yes.
in next month. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, that's it
Okay.
for me. Yeah.
Jansen, how about yourself, Jansen?
Me? Well, yeah, I actually do have a couple of things about in the works, but I'm not really allowed to say stuff. But y'all keep checking me out, Jansen Lashley Haynes on IMDb and on Instagram, and see what I got cooking.
All right. We can all Google London River. I wouldn't do
Yeah,
it on
I just got a message from her. StreamYard keeps closing on her, so she apologizes. She wanted
We
to say
love
bye,
you,
but-
London. Thank you for being here
Yes,
tonight.
yes. Just don't Google her on any work phone or work laptop.
Without your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But no shame there. We will not be streaming Tuesday for our first time reader show. Obviously, we're going to be biting our knuckles to the quick. We might jump into Discord if we need community and we need to commiserate or celebrate. Either way, let's keep your eye out on Discord if the puppets might jump in there. Everyone, this has been an amazing show. Thank you, Dovey. Wouldn't be the first.
Love you, Toby.
All right. Remember, as always, run for your lives. This is the way of the leaf.